Hello, Voice Global. Thank you very much for having me. My name's Stuart Pocklington. I'm the founder of Soapbox Voice Studios based in the UK, and I've been dabbling with voice technology for the last 2, 3, possibly 4 years. Developed a variety of skills on Alexa, Google, and Bixby. And today I'm doing a little talk on tech for good. Okay, so let's talk about voice assistants. So voice technology is still fairly new. It's a really cool bit of technology, and it's a great example for my talk, Tech for Good, because I really do believe that voice helps level the playing field for a variety of different use cases. And I'm going to focus on one in particular today for this talk, which hopefully you'll enjoy, because I'm going to tell a little bit of a story as I go through it, and it's something that's quite personal to me and something which I think is great. Now, thinking about the different voice assistants, obviously you've got Alexa, you've got Google Assistant, and you've got Bixby. More and more homes are getting these smart devices in them, and quite often you'll get one household with multiple devices linking up all the different rooms together in the household, and before you know it, smart assistants are going to be everywhere. You won't even think about them in the future because they'll just be everywhere, and you'll be able to interact with them no matter where you are. And what really helps voice stand out as tech for good, as opposed to other technologies, is a really low friction way to interact with technology and to interact with the outside world and other people. Okay, so the example that I'm going to give is, like I say, it's a personal one because it's about my dad. So let me introduce my dad. He's Terry Pocklington, and there he is on the slide, sat next to me, the picture on the left-hand side. So my dad was born in the 1950s, in an era where there wasn't very much technology compared to today at all. In the household that he was brought up in, the most advanced thing in the household was probably a radio, possibly an electric oven. That's about it. There wasn't much in terms of technology. Back then, there was no such thing as a mobile phone. You had a landline phone. If you was lucky, televisions were, although they was out, it was rare, they was expensive. Not many households had them. And in schools, you had a notepad, a pencil or pen, some textbooks, and some great teachers, if you're lucky, and that was it. So in terms of technology, growing up, my dad didn't have any exposure to technology, really. And being, my dad left school around, I think it was around 14 or 15 in the 60s. Being from a kind of pit town, my dad went off and got a job down Limby Pit as a miner. So again, not much use for technology down there. Now, as this was the 60s, cars were starting to become more popular, and more people had them because they become more affordable. And my dad had a real passion for cars, so he decided to get an apprenticeship in something relating with cars, and he went on to have a career as a car panel beater and sprayer, and he was amazing at it. It was really good at that job. He even got to work on some of the James Bond cars, one of them being the Lotus, I think it's S Spirit, that turned into a submarine in the film. During the filming of it, one of the cars that they used got a little bit of damage, and my dad got to repair it, which he's never stopped telling me about, just about every time I see him up until this day. But again, he did that job through till when he retired, and he never really had any need to interact with any technology. Everything was done with his hands. That's all he needed, and a few tools, of course. Let's talk about my dad versus technology. So as I've touched on, my dad never really had any need to interact with technology. He says he doesn't know how to use a computer. He doesn't even know how to turn it on. I reckon he could manage to turn a computer on, but could he actually operate one? I think he would really struggle. Probably the closest thing he's come to programming or using anything technology-wise would be a VCR, setting a program, so record a program at 10 o'clock at night or something like that. So nothing high tech. He does have a mobile phone these days, but definitely not a smartphone. It's just an old one where you can pretty much dial a number and maybe send a text message, but that's it. But I can count the number of times my dad has called me off his phone in the last 10 years on one finger. So he really doesn't like using anything like that. Now, he has tried using a tablet, but he's never got on with it. And I think maybe that's due to his eyesight. As he's getting older, his eyesight's getting worse. And I think he's, although he did once express a desire to use a tablet, he just couldn't see the screen well enough to be able to use it. So going back to why I think voice is good at leveling the playing field in terms of technology, for my dad specifically, is just how he has been able to interact with voice in a way that he hasn't with anything else that he's tried before. So about 2 or 3 years ago, I gave my mum and dad an Echo Dot, and straight away my dad loved it. He was able to talk to it, communicate with it, and play music. Some of his favourite songs that he's not listened to for decades, mainly because all of his kind of favourite songs that he brought back in his day, he brought on vinyl, and he doesn't have a record player, and I don't even think he knows where his vinyls ended up. So he's not been able to listen to him. But with the Echo Dot, he was able to replay some of his favourite songs, and it was really special because he brought a smile to his face, which was great to see. And then I upgraded my mum and dad to an Echo Spot, and again he was using it to listen to music, listen to news updates, check the weather, and things like that. But he's also been doing video calling on it, which is great. Like I said, he's probably in the last 10 years using his mobile phone, he's called me once. But now he's got the Echo Show. He'll video call me, my wife, and his grandkids pretty much every other day to see how we're doing and check in on us, nag me to mow the lawn in my garden and things like that. And during lockdown, which we're in currently, it's great because it just helps us keep in touch with one another.
Sir, what's the news, please?
Here's your news from BBC News.
I'm Ross Atkins with the headlines on BBC World News. The US Supreme Court has ruled that job discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation.
That's an example of my dad using his Echo device at home. Something he really loves, something he finds easy, and like I say, it's something that he uses to reach out to the outside world. Why is it? Why is voice technology so easy for my dad to use, whereas using a computer, a laptop, or a tablet, or even his phone, he's found difficult? And the reason is simple. It's low friction. The only prerequisite for using a smart assistant is being able to use your voice, being able to speak, and to hold a conversation. So my dad can just sit there, use the wake word, wake up his device and speak to it and ask for the news, the weather, or to do a voice call. It's really, really easy. And that's why I think voice is such a great bit of technology for leveling the playing field. So in this particular example, I've used my dad. For my dad, he struggled with technology because he's not had much exposure to technology when he was younger, and because he doesn't have much desire to go out, buy a laptop and do anything on it. It's worth pointing out some of the things my dad asked Alexa is hilarious, which I won't mention here for obvious reasons. And then thinking about the future of where this technology is going, I think in the next few years, voice and smart assistants are going to be everywhere. So not only will they be in your home, they'll be in your car, they'll be in offices, they'll be in shops and places where you go and visit whilst you're out and about. They'll be everywhere. You won't even have to think about them. You'll just interact with them like you're interacting, like you would interact with other people. And you'll be able to. And I think that's going to further level the playing field. So thinking about other examples, other than my dad, young children can interact with it in a way where they might not yet be able to with other technologies such as laptops or tablets. Although what I found with my kids is surprising just how young they are when they start to use and master technology these days. So you think about cost as well. So it's a low entry barrier for voice technology. So if you buy Echo Dot, Google Mini, you're talking what, $30, $40, $50. If you want a device with screen, obviously that's more expensive, but compared to a laptop, it's cheap and it's easy to set up. And as soon as it is set up, you just talk to it and it's ready to go. So I think just to round up, voice is really good for many different use cases, but in particular for leveling the playing field for people of all ages, which is great to see, and I can't wait to see what happens in the next few years. So that's been my talk on Tech for Good. I hope you enjoyed it.